Good evening, I'm Emma Jane Vere and this is Television Tonga News. In the headlines, in Parliament the Acting Prime Minister appeals to the Chairman of the Whole House Committee to prevent disclosing information in parliamentary deliberations that can be justified in allegations made in the Galea newspaper. The Health Ministry receives a container load of equipment including items for the radiology ward. And the Queen Vanilla Growers Association invests more than 700,000 pa'anga in Vava'o's vanilla production. These and more stories, including news from the Pacific, sports, world and the weather information later on in this bulletin. Let's take a look at the news in detail. From Parliament today, the Acting Prime Minister, Honourable Sami Vaipulu, this morning asked the Chairman of the Whole House Committee not to discuss in Parliament any information that will justify the allegations published in Akilis Pohiva's Galea newspaper. He made the statement during deliberations on the Ministry of Infrastructure's Annual Report 2012. Here's Fatai Whainga'a with the details.
The statement was made by the Acting Prime Minister, Sami Vaipulu, as the Ōtapu People's Representative No. 1 Akilis Pohiva had asked for additional details on various aid donations made to the government, which were not disclosed in the annual report. Pohiva says China had donated more vehicles to the government, where one vehicle was used by the Prime Minister and registered in an individual's name. When he questioned about the vehicle being privately registered, it was transferred back to government. Pohiva adds that a large amount of wires were also brought in as a donation from China in 2011. He told the House he believes that Sami Vaipulu had taken some of the wires and sent it to Vava'o. He asked the House to list and clarify all the aid donations made by China and what it's used for. In response, the Acting Prime Minister, Sami Vaipulu, told Pohiva that the wire he had used, he had worked for and purchased himself, including the tax and freight costs. He also showed the receipts to the Inland Revenue and Tax Ministry. Vaipulu also told Pohiva not to use false information in Parliament. Furthermore, Vaipulu told the Chairman of the Whole House Committee they've had enough of false allegations made by Parliamentarian No. 1 and have taken him to the court several times for false allegations. In the meantime, Pohiva told the House he had submitted a letter of inquiry to the Minister of Inland Revenue and Tax but has not received a response yet. The Chairman of the Committee of the Whole House, Sonia Fili, replied that there is a parliamentary procedure to adhere to. If a letter has not been replied to within 14 days, the person can submit a complaint to the Speaker of the House. However, the Minister of Revenue Services, Siosifa Tutafaiva, reminded the members of the House that in the Revenue Services Act, employees are not allowed to disclose any information in regards to people's work-related matters with the Ministry, especially if it's an individual request. For Television Tonga News, I'm Fatai Whainga'a.
From the Magistrate Court today, 10 men have appeared in the Fasmoiafi Court this morning for the alleged illegal harvest of sea cucumber while the season was closed. The harvest season for sea cucumber was closed in September. Kalisto Yonuku reports.
10 men who appeared in Magistrate Court for the illegal harvest of sea cucumber are Sione Moa, William Yakoteu, Sione Kafoa, Lisia Te Kafoa, Meduisela Vakalahi and Ali Kififita, all from Patangata. Desmoni la pota of Tofoa, Palatoni Kanongata of Hofoa, and 2 Asian men, Yan Huang of Anana and En Sheng Tu of Pahu, also appeared in court. They are all alleged for the illegal harvest of more than 2,000 different types of sea cucumber. They were arrested last Wednesday from Halaleva and Patangata. Meanwhile, the Magistrate Court reached an agreement with the Ministry of Fisheries to return all the sea cucumbers to the ocean. The counsel for 9 of the accused men, William Clive Edward Jr., proposed for the trial to be heard in Supreme Court. The prosecutor is preparing documents to be delivered to the accused and their counsel November 5th. Aliki Fifita represents himself in the case.
The Ministry of Health received a number of medical equipment and hospital items worth more than 100,000 Australian dollars. They will help improve the delivery of vital hospital services. The donation was made this morning from the St. John of God Ballarat Hospital in Australia. The Indafiliai was there and filed this report.
These are the various donations made by the St. John's of God Ballarat Hospital in Australia to the Ministry of Health under their Partnership Development Program. Speaking to Television Tonga News, the Chief Executive Officer of the St. Charles of God Ballarat Hospital says their partnership with the Health Ministry has been ongoing for more than 20 years.
Ballarat St John of God collect donations throughout the year from a number of different places. So some of the gifts here have come from Lake Imaging in Ballarat, some of them have come from Eureka Laundry, and some of them have come from Ballarat Hospital, and we collect them and Rotary help us put them in a container and ship them over. So we do this on nearly all of our exchange visits to Tonga. There's a range of items. There's some items for radiology, so there's equipment for X-ray in there. There's some linen. There's a whole heap of linen for theatre because they need uniforms, special uniforms in theatre, and they need drapes and those types of things. There's a whole heap of sheets and towels and that type of thing as well. So there's a whole range of different items in there.
Meanwhile, the Principal Health Administrator, To'akoi Ahio, thanked them for their generous donation. The team from Ballarat Hospital in Australia have working together with the Ministry of Health for more than 20 years. Under this partnership, we have an exchange of staff program. Today, they are donating medical equipment to help improve the services we provide to the public. The team from the St. John's of God Hospital pledged to provide similar donation in the future. For Television Tonga News, I'm Linda Filiai.
From court today, 4 accused who are alleged of theft, conspiracy of theft, embezzlement and conspiracy to commit theft will be seeking damages in the Supreme Court December 10th. Princess Bilolev Duita, Tonga Sat, Lord Tuivarano and William Clive Edwards Sr. were alleged by the prosecutor, Aglis Bohiva, in the Magistrate Court. Kalisto Inuku has the details.
Bohiva alleged that a 1 million Paanga fund sent to Tonga Sat was a public fund. The 4 accused were cleared of the allegation made in May by the Chief Magistrate Salis Murphy. Lord Chief Justice Michael Scott will preside over a chambers in court November 1st before the sitting of the trial held December 10th. Radio Tonga News contacted the legal counsels William Clive Edward Jr. and Bohiva for a comment. Bohiva was not available to make one, while William Clive Jr. says Bohiva has not attended 2 sittings of the chambers in court. He only appeared in a chambers of court held on the last week of September to ask for more time in order to enable his legal counsel, Rodney Harrison, to be available for the set date. Mr. Harrison is a New Zealand lawyer. The legal counsel for Princess Bilolevu Tuita, Tonga Sat and Lord Tuivarano is a New Zealand lawyer, Mr. Stanton, while William Clive Edwards Sr. represents himself.
The Queen Vanilla Growers Association invests more than $700,000 in the production of vanilla in Vava'o and aims to make it the biggest local supplier. Sinilatu tells you more.
A deputy director at the Ministry of Agriculture, Food, Forestry and Fisheries, Dr. Viliami Manu says there is hope the large investment will help increase the amount of vanilla produced this year and in the future, especially in Vava'o.
Most of the companies before, they just invested on the price. So they either increase the price or lower the price. But this is the first company who came, and for every vanilla plant, I think they gave $3.50. That's for weeding, fencing, pruning, and also the pollinating of the flowers. That's for them. And what it will do, the production of vanilla, I'm sure it will increase. Maybe 10 times as much as before.
It's also hoped that Vava'o will become the biggest local supplier of vanilla.
Because Vava'o is the main producer of vanilla in the olden days. But in the last 5 years, Ewa has the highest production. But I think with this new investment from this company, Vava'o will come back to be the biggest supplier of vanilla. So the company has put some money on the production. I'm sure there will be a lot more produced next year.
Dr. Manu adds that the Agriculture Ministry fully supports the development of the vanilla industry in Vava'o. The Queen Vanilla Growers Association Vava'o Incorporated is the first Australian company to invest in vanilla production. It opened on October 10th in Vava'o, and there are now over 200 vanilla farmers who are a member of the company. For Television Tonga News, I'm Sinilato.
The Japanese embassy in Tonga continues to provide funds to improve education and the water supply in the outer islands. This morning, the Japanese ambassador to Tonga, Dr. Kazuchika Hamuro, signed an agreement to provide assistance for the island of Vava'o. Also signing the agreement for assistance was Leimatua's district officer and the town officers for the villages of Ha'alaufuli and Homa. Television Tonga News correspondent in Vava'o, Ludovico Tapueluelu, says the assistance will go towards renovating the Mailefihi Si'ulik Tapu College's boarding school and improve the water supply for the recipients who signed the agreement. A special program was also held to mark the occasion. Attention is being made in guiding youth to make better decisions in order to prepare them for the future. The statement was made today by the guest of honour during a training focused on youth family education. Fononga Veikoso was there and filed this report.
It is vital to help youth make good decisions, which will have a positive impact on their lives. This was revealed to Television Tonga News by Tongatapu People's Representative No. 5, Dr. Isaac Eke, during the opening of a one-week training based on youth. Parent and children relationships need to be strengthened in order to help deal with the challenges youth are facing these days. The future of Tonga is the youth of today. Therefore, parents and children need to talk and share more openly with each other. Speaking to Television Tonga News, the National Program Manager, Catherine Murphy, says this is one effective way of addressing problems faced by youth and helping them make positive decisions. 34% of Tonga's population is made up by youth. Most of them are still at school. Prevention is better than cure. By teaching them the right choices is truly a way of addressing the challenges youth face. There is a significant contribution of family and social problems caused by youth dropouts. The Director of Health, Dr. Siale Akaola, shares from their perspective. Youth need to be healthy in order to make healthier and better choices in life. A healthy mind and body will help them make better choices. A consultant from the United Nations Fund Population Activity Association in Fiji is leading the one-week workshop at Tonga Family Health Office. It is attended by representatives from the Ministries of Education, Internal Affairs, and other stakeholders. Fonovekoso for Television Tonga News.
The Ministry of Tourism is holding a village inspection in the Nuku'alofa and the Eastern Districts. The Clean-Up Environment competition is held prior to the arrival of a cruise ship, the Pacific Pearl, at Vuna Wharf tomorrow. Anasiu Falekaano visited some of the villages in the Eastern District and filed this report.
These are some of the villages inspected by a team from the Ministry of Tourism. According to the Assistant Officer from the Ministry of Tourism, Luisa Fihaki, the village inspection is to encourage a clean and healthy environment and to boost the tourism industry. We're giving prizes for the clean-up activity to encourage villages to maintain a clean and healthy environment. Mrs. Fihaki speaks about the criteria used for the inspection. During the inspection, we looked at old, rusted and unused vehicles in the villages and how they are disposed of. Also how neglected or abandoned homes are cleaned up and maintained. Judges were selected from the Ministries of Health and Environment to inspect the villages. 21 villages altogether participated in a clean-up competition. Prizes will be awarded to the most attractive and clean village on Thursday. The village inspection was previously planned to be held last month. Meanwhile, Luisa Fihaki apologized to all the villages and especially the town offices for delaying the village inspection from last month to this month. From Waini, I am Anasiu Falekaano for Television Tonga News.
The Consumer Price Index for September this year recorded an increase of 0.1%, with an annual inflation rate of 1.4%. According to information from the Statistic Department, the price of local goods decreased by 0.9%, while import goods increased by 0.8%. The food group marked an increase of 0.1% due to an increase in prices of local fruits, vegetable, meats and poultry. The household operation recorded an increase due to the increase in the price of LP gas. A 0.2% increase in the transport group was also due to the increase in the prices of diesel. Meanwhile, the clothing, footwear, tobacco, alcohol and Tongan recorded no change. That's the local news. Pacific is next. From the Pacific, in Australia, Queensland could be home to 7 casinos within a decade.
The state government is offering 3 more licences as part of a major resort development. Talks have already been held with James Packer's Crown Group and rival Echo Entertainment about a new casino in Brisbane. Premier Campbell Newman says he's motivated by the need to boost Queensland's tourism industry, not by the prospect of increasing gambling revenue.
Still in Australia, a second man will face court charges over the weekend shooting death at a Sydney fruit market.
Police raided a home in Villawood in the city's west last night and arrested a 27-year-old man who'd been on the run for nearly 3 days. A fruit shop worker died after being shot during a robbery on Saturday. Another man has already faced court on murder charges.
That's Pacific News. Sports is up next with Pierre Ollier.
In sport, despite Tonga has been banned from the International Cricket Council, or ICC, the Tonga Cricket Association is on track to prove themselves qualified for the international events. This is according to the acting manager of the Tonga Cricket Association, Aisaki Haukinima, in an interview this morning. He says Tonga obtains 10,000 pa'anga debt from the ICC since 2011. Meanwhile, Tonga has started on its first steps to promote various tournaments locally and to be participated by local clubs. In addition, he says they are excited with the participating teams, which has shown development of its sports throughout the kingdom. They are also hoping to put more fixture in the sports for future. During last Saturday's events, the teams brought in more energy to the tournament, with 14 teams battling in various fields. Development programs have been introduced to primary schools where it will benefit cricket in the future. Tonga Beach volleyball coach Hema Esafelantu have announced 4 young cans that will represent the kingdom for the Pacific Cup 2013. They will count their name in history as the first ever Tongans to take part in this tournament. The 4 talented players were chosen by the coach Lantu, will showcase in the capital of American Samoa, Pago Pago, on November 24th until the 30th. Mr. Lantu says the new players have come up to challenge beach volleyballs in Tonga and soon will depart the kingdom to take part in this tournament. He adds they have the opportunity to exercise and experience this level, with a milestone of being the first ever Tongans to represent the nation. Meanwhile, the coach says unity amongst the players is very important, but fortunately, improvements have been witnessed from them. These men were namely Emily Fifita, Kaneti Felela Vaya Tukuafu, and Folau Turikefua, are currently training at Whangaloa before leaving Tonga to the tournament. And Tonga's national rugby league team, Matema Tonga, left Tonga this morning to New Zealand before heading to the Rugby League World Cup in the United Kingdom. Meanwhile, some members of the National League Committee will depart Tonga towards the end of this week. The international competition will kick off next Saturday, while Tonga will battle against its first opponent, Scotland, on the 29th of this month. Tonga is on the same pool with Cook Islands and Italy. And that's sports news.
From World News, the Red Cross's 4 aid workers who have been kidnapped in Syria have been released.
The agency is concerned about the safety of 3 other aid workers who remain in captivity in the country's northwest. Meanwhile, a powerful car bomb has killed 22 people in rebel-held territory near the Turkish border.
The United States Secretary of State John Kerry says Syria's President Bashar al-Assad can play no role in restoring peace in the war-torn country.
Mr Kerry's been meeting the UN Special Envoy to Syria to discuss plans for a Geneva peace conference.
President Assad has lost the legitimacy necessary to be able to be a cohesive force that could bring people together.
We agree 100% that there is no military solution in Syria. There will be a political solution if everybody gets together and work for it.
The Secretary of State says there must be a new transitional government in Syria if there's to be any chance of peace.
For today's weather bulletin, a ridge of high pressure extends from the southwest, directs an east to southeast wind flow over the group. Meanwhile, weak trough lies to the north of the Niuas. Forecast at midnight tomorrow for Tonga, for the Niuas and Vava'u, moderate to fresh east to southeast winds, cloudy with some showers over the Niuas, mainly fine over Vava'u. Elsewhere, light to moderate east to southeast winds, mainly fine. For Thursday, moderate east to southeast winds, fresh at times, mainly fine apart from brief light showers. The temperature forecast for Nuku'alofa reach a minimum of 20 degrees Celsius tonight. For the Marine Weather Bulletin, a strong wind warning remains in force for the Niuas and Vava'u coastal waters. For the Niuas and Vava'u coastal waters, east to southeast winds 20 to 25 knots with moderate to rough seas and a moderate southeast swell. Elsewhere, east to southeast winds 10 to 20 knots with moderate seas and a moderate southerly swell. That's the weather information, but before I go, let's take a final look at our top stories. In Parliament, the Acting Prime Minister appealed to the Chairman of the Whole House Committee to prevent disclosing information in Parliament deliberations that can be justified in allegations made in the Kelea newspaper. The Health Ministry receives a container load of equipment including items for the radiology ward, and the Queen Vanilla Growers Association invests more than 700,000 baanga in Vava'u's vanilla production. That ends our news for tonight. For more on these stories, you can call us on 23556 or 28812, or you can check out our website at www.tonga-broadcasting.net, or you can visit our Facebook page on Radio Television Tonga. Thanks for watching. I'm Emma Jane Vea. Good evening.